Welcome in. This is going to be a talk about Sandokai. It is a Zen Buddhist text written in the 8th century by a monk, a Zen monk called Shito Shichen, or in the different pronunciation in Japanese. This poem was taught in America by Shunryu Suzuki, the Japanese Zen teacher in San Francisco, and so I'm going to give a talk. This is going to be a pretty long talk, but I also didn't prepare for it. So if I started, just know that this is more spontaneous. Um, so let's dive right in before we talk about what the poem is about, because once we encounter certain terminology, and then we clarify. So okay, so let's look at it word by word. The title Sandokai, this word means difference. This word means sameness. This means consolidation. So in Buddhism, there's individual existence. There's individual existence, and there's totality. Totality is the combined sum of everything, including physical things and mental things, mental thoughts and emotions. The entirety of everything in the universe is called this totality. Individual things are separated things. So let me give you an example. So a lot of Zen teachers like to use the metaphor of the ocean and the wave. So let's say this is the ocean. This is like a cut section of the ocean. So on the surface, it looks like this. This wave, or maybe it doesn't go like this. So the wave. So when you look at this part of the wave, and this part and this part, those are separate things. And there could be dogs, but if they are humans, now this is a human, this is another human, and this is another human. Uh, so they look different. So this person is not this person, neither is this. But underneath the current of manifestation, it is all same. So this person is different from this person, but deep down, they are the same. Now, this is what this poem is about, because traditionally, well, in Buddhism and non-dualistic religion, this is non-dualistic. What is dualistic? What is non-dualistic? Um, well, look at this paragraph. So this is not separated. It is not one. What about this? Well, these are separated. So this is not two. This is not two, because it's unified whole. And this, they are separate, so they're not one. So not one, not two. So basically means they are separate, but they're also unified. Um, so if you look at a drawing like this, so this is a unified whole, but if the unified whole start to be pulled apart, and then eventually they become this and this, then they are put apart. This is called duality. So this is me, this is you, I am different from you. There could be a love story, there could be a war, and the foundation of a love story, anyways, misspell, love story and war. The foundation of it is duality. Something here, something there. If this is this, then there will be no interaction, there will be no war or love story. So duality means this unified whole being pulled apart into two things, and these two things can interact with each other. This is me, this is you. We're different, but maybe we're not very different. So this is the meaning of this poem. It is not just about enlightenment in a traditional sense, but it's also about what to do when you have the understanding of enlightenment, which is totality. Totality means oneness. Look at this ocean waves. This is the totality of the ocean. So even when you understand the depth of the ocean, the waves still exist. That means to practice and learn non-duality in the world of duality. I'm going to delete all this. I might write something else. I think I can leave this. And so this means individual existence or difference. And this second word means totality. What's the third word? The third word is interesting. The third word, this one, it means consolidation. Well, here. It means consolidation. So this means consolidating totality and separate existence. Here. And that's the meaning of this poem, consolidating totality and separate existence. All right. And let's look at the first line. So this means, this means India. This means great. This means sage. This means, I'll tell you. India, big or great. Sage, heart. However, in Buddhism, words are different. So certain words are reserved. They are like one of those programming words that are reserved for the syntax. This one word, they usually mean heart, like physical heart. But in Buddhism, there are three different types of heart. There's physical heart, there's emotional heart, and then there's this. This is called consciousness. What's consciousness? Well, you know the Heart Sutra. You ever heard of it? Heart Sutra is not about heart. It's not about emotion or health. It's about consciousness. Heart Sutra equals to consciousness sutra. So, heart means consciousness. Well, what's consciousness? Here, let's look at this wave, but let's rotate it. These are the waves. They look like mountains, but let's just see their waves. This is a totality, but this is not a clear edge because you're the Y. Instead of being a clear edge, it's material. This is solid material, and this it gets less solid or eventually become dots. I will tell you why I do this. So the most dense part are these. These are the branches. That's a good concept that we're going to talk about in the future. So just like this, me, you, someone else, me, you, someone else, we look separate enough, right? But at the same time, we are one, But there's different types of existence. This is definitely duality, right? Right, two. But right here, this is one, because no separation. There's no difference between inside here and outside there. And let's say, so this is the totality of everything, the big T. And the totality is surrounded by something, because for anything to exist, there has to be a space for it to exist. For a thought to exist, there has to be a mental space for the thought to experience. For you to dream, there has to be a mental space, the dream space for your dream to take place. If any material needs to take place, there has to be space. Now, this totality is surrounded by space. And if this is the totality of a material or Brahman, is that how it's spelled? Anyways, Brahman in Hinduism. In Hinduism, there are two concepts, Brahman and Atman. This means consciousness or the true. I need to do this. Atman, self. This is S. This is a self with capitalized S. What is self? Okay, this is material totality. This is independent existence. This is true self. Why? Because this can degrade and this can disappear, but the space that contains the totality and individualism, they don't die. And if you inquire, that's philosophically your true self, but also spiritually, in a cognizant perspective, your true self is empty space or void or self with capital S or Atman. What is Brahman? Brahman is the totality of all the individual things. And all of this are surrounded by space, which is Atman. So that is the dilemma of like Advaita Vedanta, which is also very similar to Kashmir Shaivism. If you don't know what they are, completely fine, doesn't matter. So here, Brahman, totality of everything, Atman, the space that allows things to be, including the totality. This is your consciousness or perceiver. This is perceives, and this is the totality of light, which manifests into these things. We're gonna talk about it later in the future. We just want to do those broad strokes so that we basically introduce what this poem is without leaving the poem itself. By the way, did I say this is a poem? This is not a sutra, but it's also very significant. It is significant because it acknowledges individual existence other than a lot of non-dualistic religion like Hinduism and Buddhism that they just say nothing exists, we're all one. But this poem is saying yes, they're all one, but also things are different. Just look. So oh my god, it's gonna take a while. Now we went through the title and the first line. The first line goes, it's the great sage's consciousness from India. So this is incorrect. This is not mind. The mind is supposed to be crossed out by here. So the consciousness, which is heart, is a heart, but it's not heart. It's consciousness of the great sages from India. East, west, closely. Shit, let me write it down. Okay, this means inter. This means correspond or mirror, like mirror or correspond. This means correspond. This means inter. This means closely. This means west. This means east. So the great sage, the consciousness of the great sages of India closely mirror each other, whether it's in the east and the west. So in the east, when this monk wrote this poem, there's Taoism, there's Buddhism. I'm just gonna draw this Buddhism, whatever. So Buddhism and Taoism, and Buddhism and Confucianism is specifically the East. By the way, this West means India, doesn't mean the West. So because the West of Americans hasn't been discovered, so when they consider the West, they're considering India. So that means no matter the wisdom comes from the East or the West, they are closely mirroring each other. When this poem was written, there was a lot of debates and different branches and schools of Buddhism, Hinduism, and Taoism. So basically Buddhism. And this monk is saying, no matter where it's originated, it closely interacted with each other. Now, this means human. This means faculty, or its linguistic meaning is root. So the root of a human has sharpness and dullness. This means the intelligence, the mental intelligence. How do you draw intelligence? Mental intelligence. This is a light bulb. The mental intelligence of people, different people, can be sharper or dull or duller. But this is talking about intelligence. What about the next word? The next word is This one is either Dao, yeah, T or D, same thing. But also, this is in the Chinese language, but in Sanskrit, for instance, it's how do you spell it? Dharma. This is Dharma. Here, that's the word Dharma. It's the same as Dao. So when you hear this word, it means the same as Dharma. It's the same word. It does sound the same too. So Dharma, this means no, no, south, north, ancestry or origin. So that means truth, Dharma, Dao, doesn't have separate origin. Even though, some people are smart, some people are not smart. Some people are, some philosophies are from the east, some are from the west. Now let's talk about this word. This interesting word called Dharma. No, Dharma. Or in Chinese, it's like this. Whatever. It's like this. Yeah, this. It means a few things. Okay, Dharma. Dharma, firstly, means totality. Remember totality? The individual waves. Oh, the individual waves. The totality, big T. Totality is this. Oh. And totality is also Dharma, the big D. And Dharma also means the teaching of the big D, Dharma. But sometimes even means something strange like Sava Dharma. What's Sava Dharma? Well, the Sanskrit language is sometimes strikingly similar to English because they're on the same continent. There's no big mountains. They do trade and language do develop, with interactions. So this means several. This is really bad writing, but this is S. Several. This is multiple. So several Dharma. Oh, what's Dharma? Dharma is here. Dharma, totality. Totality is here. So what are those? Those are severalized totality, which means individuals. This is you. So those are individuals. They are manifested and individualized from the totality, which is several from the Dharma, several Dharma. So several Dharma. This means individual existence. We will encounter this concept later. That's why we're writing this down. I'm going to leave that totality drawing here. I might have different versions of that drawing later. Okay, let's wait. Wait. So the Tao or the Dharma doesn't have different origin or root, either from the east or from the west. They were different, either from the north. Either from north or south. During that time, there are lots of different schools of Buddhism in China, and so some believes you need to gradually cultivate enlightenment, and some believes it's instant. Some believes it just takes the recognition of reality, which is also very prevalent in a lot of non-dual traditions. And this one means the same, or the Dharma of nothingness has separate origin. Oh, has no. It's a big no. Has no separate origins from south to east. Wait, I misinterpreted. There are two interpretations. I originally wrote it down. One means the Dharma doesn't have different origin, but also it can mean another thing, Dharma of nothingness, because this means nothing. So the Dharma of nothingness had different origins from south to west. What is the Dharma of nothingness? These are the waves of individual existence. This is totality, big T. And this is Sarva Dharma, or like big S. This is big T. And now This is the space that surrounds all of this. But also, if this becomes less dense, it becomes the space. This space is void, emptiness, the capital S self, or the way, the Tao of nothingness. So the Dharma of nothingness. The Dharma of nothingness doesn't have south or north origins. But in fact, both interpretations are right. I tend to go with the second one. The Dharma of nothingness has no this. Well, actually, I think I translated it wrong. So, I mean, there are different translations, but the Dharma of nothingness has, it is, oh my God, the Dharma of nothingness has separate origins. The Dharma of nothingness has separate origins. So if you combine with the previous line, then wait, give me a second. So this means has. So the Dharma of nothingness is a misspelling, but the Dharma of nothingness does have separate origins. Why is it saying that? Well, because it's trying to say the great consciousness of the great sages in India, even though East West are different, even though they correspond to each other tightly, they are the same, and even though the Dharma is nothing, is the Dharma of nothingness is not separate, it does came from the South and West ancestry. But the literal meaning is less important. But when you decipher poetry like this is not modern day Chinese or Japanese. This is ancient Chinese. So you have to understand like how they use the word differently. For instance, this poem, this is India, right? This is East and West. This is the root of human. This is the Dharma of nothingness, which I said slightly wrong at first. And this is we're going to talk about what it is. But do you recognize the pattern? It is two individual words and three words. So we have to divide it into this structure. If you don't, you would misinterpret it, such as just what I said. I try to divide from here, but it's actually here. This entire poem is about two words and three words. This structure is essential to some of the interpretations. Now, correct interpretation, the Dharma of nothingness has a south and west origin. Now the next line. Next line is quite great. So this is some of the these are some of the important parts of this poem. Now, wait. So this word, what does it mean? It means, well, it can mean truth, but this means origin or source. This is bright. This means bright, and this means, well, this. Okay, this bright here. This is a verb. This is a adverb. So, how do I explain this? Let's see here. What's that called? Dharma wheel? Is that Dharma wheel iconography? Psycho. You know what I'm trying to show you? I'm trying to show you this picture. So there are lots of iconographies. Well, because of my inversion on the screen, you can't really see this. It looks kind of scary, which is the point. This is about reincarnation. There are different houses. Different houses. Some live happily, some live in suffering, some live in hell. But because you have, you can't see this. Well, there's a chicken, there's a snake, there's a pig. Chicken is greed, snake is viciousness, or hatred, or whatever. And a pig is ignorance of truth. Because you have these three faults, transgressions, like people say. Now, because of that three, you go through this cycle. I mean, I can draw on this picture. You go through this cycle. You see that the main part of the painting, there are actually 6 different houses representing your happiness or lack thereof. Look at this monster, how scary it is. This is samsara. This is the cycle of rebirth and reincarnating to good or bad places. That means all of this life is doomed. It's the Buddhist concept of suffering, which is a bad translation because it actually means dukkha. Dukkha is not suffering. What is dukkha? Well, when you eat spicy food, you feel really happy, but you are suffering because your tongue is being burned. That is suffering, but it's not. That's dukkha, but it's not suffering. If you get annoyed, it's not really suffering, but it is definitely dukkha. I want to show you this. All the iconographies of different versions, there's this character, this Buddha character, is pointing somewhere. Well, it's pointing to this. In this case, this is a Dharma. This is a helm. This is a helm of. It's a symbol of Buddhism. What it represents is direction. It's like you steer the boat. This means truth. This symbol, this symbol means Dharma. And sometimes this symbol is not a Dharma, but a moon, like a moon. Like this one. I think this one has a small moon here too. But sometimes this big one is a moon. What does that mean? This Buddha character is pointing at the truth. What is the truth? What is the moon? The moon shines, but it shines differently from the sun. It shines bright. But now, this word means it shines. It means bright, but it's a verb. This means bright or brightly. But this kind of brightness is not that of a sun. This word has only been used to describe the moon. I don't know, this is the volcano. I don't know. So they don't have volcano. This is the asteroid sign. The mountains on the moon, whatever. So this means bright. This means shine. Shines brightly, but this kind of bright, this particular word has never been used to describe the sun. It's just linguistic connotations. It's not the sun, but the moon. Now, the source of spirit or the source of truth, spirit, or non-dualism, or actually it's better to see this as the Hindu self. This is S. Now, this one means spirit, but spirit is a concept that doesn't work well with non-dual religions. So we translate it as the Hindu self. Of course, in Buddhism, you might say, well, there's no self. That's a different lesson, but what there are and there isn't, I will discuss that later. But here, let's just look at this as the capitalized, the big self. Remember what it is? Well, this is the waves. These are the waves. This is the totality. And what's the surrounding it? It's empty space and void, which is your true self. So the source of the self shines brightly, but like the moon. Well, actually, I made a mistake. Well, this is live, so we're making mistakes. So, okay, I'm gonna redo all this. But it's also important because let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I misspoke. Because this is exactly what it looks like linguistically. But Buddhist texts are meant to be encrypted and deceptive because it's a philosophy in Buddhism in some branches of Buddhism to not disclose the nature of reality to people that are not ready. So if you're not ready, then you see the source of self shines brightly. That's what it literally means. However, that is a deception. What it really means is this. So this is a state. It means things are bright. This is a verb. It means brightly. Well, it means bright, but it's the moon type of bright, whatever this is. This is the moon. So this shines. So this word is bright. This word is also bright. This word is the description of the sun. This word is the brightness of the moon. What does that mean? This is the source. This is the self. So the source of the self is bright like the moon, even under the brightness of the sun. This is a very important line. Let me explain. So, if you turn off the light, you wouldn't be able to tell what is a table, what is a clock, what is a computer, what is a tree. The only reason you can tell what is a tree and what is a desk visually is because there's light. So the source of the self, which is nothingness, it is bright, but that brightness is different from the sun. So when you turn on the light, you see different objects. This represents different objects, the Squid Game objects. But when you turn off the light, you can't even tell them apart. So this is a metaphor for when you turn off the light, you can't see things apart. Therefore, everything is abiding by what? Totality. So this means even when the light is on, like shining like the sun, the truth still shines like the moon. That means even though you turn on the light and you can tell those things apart, the truth that they are the same is also there. What does that mean? Spirituality, non-dual spirituality, people are trying to do one thing. People try to identify and recognize this totality in Buddhism, or even go like to the completely nothingness in Hinduism or the self. But both this totality and the capital S self or nothingness or void or like void, both of them are non-dual. And those are duality. Every non-dual spirituality practice is about to recognize either one of those. But this is saying, even when the light is on, even when these are true, this is also true. Even when things are separate, you and I were separate people, that's true. That's when the light is turned on, we can tell I'm a triangle, you're a circle. But then the truth of totality, the truth of the self. By the way, we're going to talk about why this we call it self, even though Buddhist doesn't have a concept of self. But we will articulate it. Well, not this. The source of the self, which is nothingness. So nothingness shines in non-duality, even though the sun is bright and things are separate. Let's continue. If you don't understand, I hope you do, but let's continue. So this means branches. This is the branch of the tree. This means darkness. This means flowing. This is the source of self, nothingness. Do you see this word branch? Does it look similar? Well, it might, because look what is branch. Remember this drawing? This drawing like this. This is the wave, right? We say it's a wave. This is totality. This is nothingness. I'm going to use dash line or whatever. So what does this look like? This look like? Well, if you lengthen it, they look like a tree branch. So that's branch. The branch, this corresponds to the previous line. This is the previous line. This means during the bright light, during duality. During duality, it still shines, and this kind of shine is the shine of the moon, because in Buddhism, moon represents the source of the spirit or the self. Of course, I'm gonna still talk about the self. I mean, you might say Buddhism doesn't have self. I will explain that. Let's just say there is, because we don't have a word for this. This means spirit, but it's not a spirit. Spirit is not an entity. It doesn't exist in non-dual philosophies. So now this is branches. Branches in the darkness where you can't tell them apart. Even when those things are not being able to be told apart, things still exist. Look, I covered these symbols, but it does exist, right? I mean, this line covers up this square, triangle, and circle, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So when you turn off the light, like this, turn off the light, does the circle, the square, and the triangle still exist? Yes, it does, even though you can't see it. So this means branch. What are the branches? Branches are individual self. Individual self. So individual self, even when things are turned off and everything is one, it still flows. Oh, this flow means flow. This means flow into. So even those branches or individual existence or separation, even in the darkness of the sameness, it still flows into those branches. That means even if you identify as the totality, oh, not I, but totality, the branches or the waves, I mean, we originally draw this as the wave and this is the ocean, right? But now we see this is the trunk and this is the branch, like the trunk and the branches. So we might talk about the trunk. The trunk is totality. And later we're going to see this occur as this word. This means the trunk. This means the end bits. This. We're going to see this word later. And this means individual existence or even Sava Dharma. Whatever. So this is a tree. This is an analogy. These are branches. It's like they're a river. They are splitting into different things, branches. So the branches, even in the totality, in the recognition of non-duality, they still flow individually. So these two lines together, it means even when things are dual, separation, like individual existence, even in the individuality, the truth, the sameness also shines bright. And even when things are one, are blended one, as the Hindu would say, the Brahman as opposed to, well, not opposed to, but as mentioned with Atman, which is space, the space, the totality of matter. This is Hinduism. It doesn't exist in Buddhism, but Hinduism is the structure of a lot of things like Buddhism. So those branches, the river or the tree, even when things are one, this means dark. But this dark doesn't mean like the modern English dark. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. But it doesn't accentuate the meaning of lights off. It means things are one. And even when things are one, what does this happen? Well, this means they still flow. And it's not just flow, but flow into the branches. Now, okay, stream flows into separate branches even in the dark. Now, these translations, I did those translations. I might still tweak certain wording, but this is different from Xiangryu Suzuki's book, because in the book by Xiangryu Suzuki, he delivered that book by form of lecture. The translation was done largely by students, so there were actually misinterpretations. This is actually why I want to do this at all, because many of those poetries are misinterpreted. Xiangryu Suzuki has incredible understanding of this poem and Zen and Buddhist, but the translation by the students, many of those words are not correct for two reasons. Firstly, if you understand Chinese, doesn't mean you understand ancient Chinese. There are words that mean different things, like what we said. Dark doesn't mean bad. It means one. And bright, it means duality, which is bad. But if you don't understand how words are used in the ancient scenario in the 8th century and in the Buddhist context in particular, you would misinterpret it completely. Now, that word, well, I said there are two reasons. The other reason is that it doesn't understand the structure of poetry, which means 2 words, 3 words, 2 words, 3 words. If you divide by here, 1 word, 4 words, then you get a different meaning. So that's why translations of the Buddhist canon, the Chinese Buddhist canon, is so difficult. We have a lot of really good translations from the Tibetan canon, but we don't have from the Chinese canon. And there are two major, like Sanskrit Buddhism. It's either in China or in Tibet. The reason it's not in India is because they got burned. Like, I don't know, they got burned by other religions. All the books, they're not preserved. So the biggest canons of the Sanskrit version of Buddhism is in China and in Tibet. It's massive, and the translations are quite bad, because when people learn to speak modern Chinese, they try to translate from modern Chinese, but that's incorrect, because not only Buddhism has specific use for those words, like a reserved syntax, but also the grammar and even the meaning, the connotations of the implications of the words are different. I mean, this is like over 1,000 years ago. I mean, think about the way we talk. Sometimes people say they can't understand the young generation talk. I mean, that's only been like 30 years apart. Imagine 1,000 years apart. Words can mean different things. Now, let's look at this word. This word, this means bright. This is the brightness of the sun, remember? As this is the brightness of the moon. And this is darkness. Now, let's write these two words. So it's like this. This is bright. Oh, this 2 lines, right? This is like this. This means dark. Now, this means bright. But sometimes you need to imply someone is smart. This is light bulb, whatever. So light bulb, someone smart. This word can also mean smart. But when you try to mean smart, now you don't say dark because that would be a different dilemma. You would say no, this word. What's this word? This bright or intelligence. No or this. This. So this means no, this is brightness. This can mean brightness or intelligence. If it's used with this, it means individuality or sarvadharma or duality. If used with this. If you used with this, it means smart, not smart. And we see this in the Heart Sutra in another lecture. I need a sip of water. Now, next line here, divided from here. This means grasping. This word means this word means grasp. This means things. Let's look at grasp first. Grasp. What is the source of suffering? Is that you grasping onto things. I'm going to use the squid game symbol to represent things. When you grasp onto things, then you suffer. So non-dual spirituality and even like Abrahamic religion, it's ultimately about loosen the grab and the grab and the grasp and the obsession of things. Loosen the grip of things. So this word means grasping. Grasping. Oh, nah. Now, grasping onto things. This means origin. This means is. This means illusion or delusion. So let's look at this first word. This is grasping. The second is things. I think it's like this. I don't know. That's the Chinese character. Things. So I think in Xiangrou Suzuki's lecture, I think in Japanese it's ji, but in Chinese it's shi. And now Xiangrou Suzuki made a distinction between things and this is a thing, how to call it? Let's call it rationale, right? Rationale. What's rationale? Rationale is li. In Chinese and Japanese, it's all li. So you have things and you have rationale. The rationale of what? The rationale of truth is basically mean totality or the space or nothingness. I want to make a distinction. In Buddhism, they call it emptiness. It's empty. And this is shahnata or sunnata. Let me write it seriously. Shahnata or sunnata without the H. Now, this means emptiness. But this emptiness is different from the Hindu emptiness because Hindu emptiness has Hinduism is different. So I'm talking about Advaita Vedanta or even Kashmir Shaivism. This dash line represents nothingness. So in Hinduism, this is nothing. Wait. In Hinduism, in Vedanta Shaivism, this is nothing or emptiness. But in Buddhism, we don't talk about this at all. We don't talk about it. Why don't we talk about it? I'll explain to that later. We only talk about this, and this becomes the nothingness. What's nothingness in Buddhism? Totality of all things, the combined sum of everything ever existed and is existing now. That's in Buddhism nothingness. The Dalai Lama has multiple times said things don't exist, or no self, which is a Buddhist. Oh, wait, I think I might got cut off. So the Dalai Lama has in multiple occasions said that the no self or no separated self, the no self or anatma, the denial of separated self. By the way, let me try to reiterate because I'm not sure if I got cut off by the recording. So the Dalai Lama has multiple times said, no self doesn't mean you don't exist. It means you don't exist separately, like those waves or those branches and this. You don't exist separate from this person because you are both this. And in Buddhism, nothingness doesn't mean void. It means the totality of all things. See, totality. That's this word. Now, grasping onto things, dualistic things, by the way, dualistic things. Now, you divide by here. If you grasp onto things, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is the source, the origin, or totality is illusion or delusion. So, or get confused. So, if you get confused, if you grasp onto things, then the totality gets confused. Or here. So that's the meaning of this line. Now, how about this? It's a pair. So they usually go pairs. This means carving. This means rationale. What's the rationale? The rationale of truth, which is totality, because we don't talk about void in Buddhism. Carving out truth. This means still. This means not. This means enlightenment or realization. Even when you carve out truth, still not enlightenment. Holy shit, then what it is? What is it? Well, should I tell you what it is? No. So, now, they look similar. They mean, in modern Chinese, they mean door. In modern Chinese, that two identical character means doors. But in old times, especially in Buddhist concept, we call it gate. What's the gate? Your eyes that see things, your nose that smells, your this doesn't look right. I'm so sorry. Again, just by blurring it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because totality and individual existence still exist. So your eyes and your ears, and then your touch. This is a hand. It's a poorly described hand. So your eye, your nose, your ears, your nose, your touch, even your mind that can come up with a thought. Those things are called gates. They are the gates for the exterior world to enter. Now, when you use two words together, that means all the senses, like your ears, your eyes, your vision, your hearing, all of those senses, and now divided by here, all of the senses, all, this means all, this means things, or this means like a realm. This means a realm, but it's the realm of things. So all the gates or the perception organs, all the senses, it is all the things. Basically implies it perceives all the things. So just before, if you remember, we talked about this Japanese word ji and this Japanese word li, or this Chinese word shi, or this Chinese word li. Do you remember what they are? This means things. Whatever, it's things. This means rationale. The li means rationale, the big R, or the truth. You know what? Since we've already introduced this wave and ocean analogy, let's introduce the concept of gross body. This means body. Okay, body. This is. What's going on? I think did I write outside the bound? Give me a second. Sometimes it sucks because this might be unstable. Let me take a quick pause here. Let me take a big pause. All right, I just took a break. You don't have to take a break. So usually, like texts like this, it's probably gonna cost about. It probably is gonna take probably like 3
probably 3 hours. You know what? I think I can get it done within an hour and a half. But if you want to explore, there's a lot to say. By the way, this is absolute art. I'm gonna make a screenshot. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Like, make a t-shirt. Now, what were we talking about? Let me think if I need to interject something else. By the way, in yoga, right? Meditation yoga. Let me write this down. Yoga. There's a little bit delay of my pencil. I don't know why. So, wait. Let's try to. Yeah, it's still a bit delayed. Let's relaunch this app. Give me a second. This kind of live lectures, they are really great because things come up organically. But we do have difficulties like this. I think right now it's good. Yoga, right? Meditation. What's the difference? Well, yoga is meditation, but you have materials in there. I'm going to use this to represent. Sometimes it's individual materials. Sometimes it's a big totality. You know what? I'm gonna draw that. I'm gonna draw this star. This is totality. So individual things, totality. Meditation is not within action, but yoga is meditation in action. Or sometimes yoga equals to in Kashmir Shaivism it's Shiva and Shakti, but I don't know if I want to say that because you probably don't know what they are. Yoga means consciousness combined with light, or materials. Materials can be separate or one, but consciousness plus materials equals to yoga. So how many types of yoga there are? Well, there are lots. There are like bhakti yoga, devotional yoga, which is Christianity. they would not agree. That's bhakti yoga. But one of the yoga, I think, is written like this. Is it like this? This is a J. This is N. This is called jnana. What's jnana? Jnana is knowledge. Knowledge of what? Well, knowledge of all this. This is totality, right? This is individuality. This is space. Understanding this is the knowledge. It is not the knowledge of how to use a hammer. Those are worldly knowledge. This is how do you say that? Spiritual knowledge, or how do I say spiritual? But so there's a frame, right? It could be a TV screen or movie screen. Let's say you're watching a movie. This is Thanos. I don't know, just like this, whatever, with a sword. This is Thanos. This is a movie theater. You have people sitting in front of you. This is the curtain, but you can see them. Now, this frame is the observer or the container. Totality, individuality, space. But here's the thing, space doesn't just become less dense from the totality. It's all around, just like a movie screen. Now, things play on this movie screen can be different. It could be play a cartoon, something, whatever. But even though things play on the screen are different, the screen doesn't change. And the screen's relationship to the content doesn't change. So now you have nature of reality, and you have content of reality. One is the nature of it. One is the content of it. The movie screen, the movie frame is the nature of this thing. And the Thanos with a big sword is the content of it. So the content of reality is to learn how to use a computer, learn how to use a hammer, learn science, I don't know, all kinds of chemistry, physics, maybe even learn, music, what a perfect fourth is. Those are the content. This is the nature of reality, okay? So, comes to this graph. This is the branch or the wave. This is totality, big T. This is the consciousness, nothingness, which we don't talk about in Buddhism. Now, the content of reality, the content of reality are those things, the individual things. This is a hammer. This is a saw. Now, the saw is not the hammer, but deep down they are totality, right? So, content of reality is saw learn to use a hammer. And nature of reality is that both the saw and the hammer are part of Brahman in Hinduism, and totality or shunyata, emptiness, in Buddhism. And what other words they use? Oh, they also use shunyata, kong. In Chinese it's called kong or emptiness. Emptiness. They also use this word. Do you remember what this is? What do you think it looks like? It looks like a tree trunk. I was gonna say fucking tree trunk. I'm gonna spare you from the swearing. So this is the trunk, right? The trunk is this. In comparison to what? To the branches. The branches are what? They are individual existence. Totality, individual existence. Now let's erase this. And we talked about the nature of reality comparing to the content of reality. Learning science, learning ways to run a business, to fix a car, an engine, is the content of reality, is learning about the knowledge of the content of reality. But it's not learning the nature of reality, which is, well, meditation, or what we are doing, which is basically my point for this entire 10 minutes, is that what we are doing is something like this. We're doing this. This is a J. I think this is the jnana. That means enlightenment or yoga through knowledge. We're not trying to do it through devotion. We're not trying to do it through concentration, which is single-pointed awareness. I mean, there are a lot of ways that you can do yoga. You can inquire the nature of the self. But here, we do something, well, similar to the inquiry of nature of self. We do something like jnana, through knowledge, through inquiry. Well, it is actually the inquiry of self, the inquiry of the nature of reality and who we are. I mean, it is what people call Advaita Vedanta, which is the end of an old book called Vedas. It's a series of books. So the end of Vedas is Advaita. Well, Advaita means non-dual. I don't know how to spell them, just non-dual. Vedanta means the end of the Vedas. That's Hinduism. Why are we talking about this? Because Hinduism is a structure for what you can learn from Buddhism. If you understand Hinduism, the framework, then it's easier for you to understand every type of non-dual spiritual practice, even dualistic spirituality, because I mean dualistic spirituality is basically those branches, this branch, this branch, this branch. This is you, this is Jesus, this is whatever. I mean, you are worshiping Jesus, but both of you comes to this totality. I'm gonna get killed for this now. And what we're talking, okay, we're talking about this line. Let's erase this. Do you remember what this is? This is gate. Gate, it means all gates. This is how grammar works. This means all. This means realm. So basically, this line means all of your senses perceives the entire world, or all senses perceive all worldly things. This means realm, right? What is that Chinese character point to? So this means realm. But this it's six dirt. 6 dirt. So this oh no, this is 6 gates. The gates can be this, or this is root or faculty, right? We've seen this word earlier. So 6 faculty, that means 6 sense perception organs. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, that means taste. This means touch, and this means it is thought. But there's a lot of things that mean thought in non-dual reality. So it is about the part of your brain that perceives thought, or part of your mind, let's say, because brain is too scientific. We're trying to do things that are non-material or subtle material instead of gross material. So this means the mind that perceives thought. Eye, ear, nose, taste, bodily touch. So those are the things how you perceive the world with. The gate, the 6 faculties, 6 dirt. What are the 6 dirt? Well, it's corresponding to what the perception organs are: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought. So all of the senses perceives all of things in the world. That's what this line means. Let's move on. Oh, by the way, before I took a break, I was about to tell you something. I was about to tell you this. Now, let's do this, because sooner or later we're going to confront this. Gross body. Oh my god, this is bad, right? Gross body, subtle body, causal. See, this is where the mistake is, because it looks like casual, and it seems like but it's casual. It's causal body. I mean, the first time everybody sees this, they think casual, and they don't know what it means. They don't know what gross means either. Okay, you don't know what gross body means, but do you know what gross muscle is? Well, your leg, your arm, they are called gross muscle because they are big. This is in contrast to fine muscle, fine movement. It's actually called motor control. Gross motor control, fine motor control, like you light up a match, like how you play piano, those are fine motor control. When you run, it's gross motor control. What does gross mean? Gross means big. It means density, right? This is a good word. Density. This is important word because why? Okay, remember this? This is the most important graph in the world. It's a squid. So those are independent things. But in those independent things, there's still difference. This is very dense. It's less dense. Now it's gradual, right? What is very dense? A rock is very dense. It's physical. What is less dense? Well, maybe a sound. This is just in terms of existence. Like, is sound a material? Well, it's not physical, but it is auditory material. So yeah, from a logical perspective, sound is material, but it's less dense, like a rock. So you can't see it, but you can still perceive it. And even less dense is, let's say, feeling. Feeling, you can't even see it or hear it or smell it, but you're kind of there. So rock is the densest. What is this? Sound is less dense, and feeling is even less dense. So density, even within dualistic experiences, individual existence, there are still different densities. Now, I need a sip of water. So density. That's why density is such a great word. So remember what these are: gross body, subtle body, and causal body. You know what? This is too important for us to not write down. Gross body, subtle body, causal body. Well, you can replace the word body with form, right? Could be forms. Now, for ourselves, who we are. We are our physical self. We are our emotional sum, emotional combined sum, or emotional capacities, or mental thoughts and habitual patterns, mental patterns, and so forth. What about the causal body? Causal body is the cause. What is the cause? The causality. Okay, in Buddhism and Hinduism, there's a thing. This is an empty space. Well, it's not because there are dots on it. But this represents empty space. This represents, I mean, this is empty space. But now we can't talk about it. We'll have to, make a representation. Empty space is what gives rise to totality and then to individual things. This looks like a Morty, but this is totality. This is individual things. This is emptiness. It gives rise to it. So in Taoism, there's like a something like that. Yeah, I'm gonna explain. This is actually really well said. Give me a second. Don't get bored. Now, what does this mean? This means nothing realm. The nothing realm, like the space, is giving rise. This means giving rise to or born. So nothingness gives birth to, what is this? This is totality. This is the same thing, totality, the big T, the Brahman. What else? The tree trunk, remember? The tree trunk, or this. So the trunk, the totality, the Brahman. If you look at it from this drawings, this is the Brahman or big T, totality. Now, nothingness or like space gives rise to totality. And totality gives rise to what? To this. This means two. Oh, there's no dash. So this means two. This means realm. Does it sound similar? Well, duality. Now, nothingness gives birth to totality. Totality gives birth to duality. Well, duality gives birth to four basic forms or elements. So this is the relationship between nothingness and this, or totality, or whatever. This is the branches, individual existence or duality, because once you have two, now you have the four basic fundamental forms, which is dualistic things. So nothing gives birth to totality. Totality gives birth to the wave of the ocean instead of the body of the ocean. So that's the Taoist saying, nothingness gives birth to the totality of all things, and the totality of all things gives birth to individual things, individual existence, identities. So, we talked about, Sandokai, what does that mean? Consolidating totality and separate existence. And that works with Taoism too. This is not even new in Buddhism. I think a few centuries before Sandokai, between, I don't know when, there's a thing called, how do I say this? I think that's how. This is B, beta, and A. This is H. So beta, beta. So this means difference. Let me write it seriously. Beta. This means separation or difference. A, beta means not this, just like English, like what I said, it's strikingly similar, right? Sava means several, A means no, so this means not different. Now what does that mean? Different, not different. Now what this? Difference, not difference, consolidating. So this kind of philosophy has been in Hinduism before. This is a early form of Advaita. How do you spell it? Advaita. How do you spell it? Vedanta. Oh, this is E. Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta, the early form, one of them is called Beta Abeta, is not one, not two. Not one, not two. And hence, the consolidation between one and two, between duality and totality. Now, well, you also see now you see the Hindu version of it, you see the Buddhist version of it, you see the Taoist version of it. So I mean, every one of those traditions actually talks about this relationship. Well, Taoism is more about dealing with the dualistic world. It doesn't deal as much as the nature of reality, but it does mention it. It does mention the Tao Te Ching. It does mention the nature of reality. It just doesn't dwell there, but that's a different day. Hinduism and Buddhism is about the study of the nature of reality. Remember the movie screen and the Thanos? Movie screen, Thanos, this is the chin, this is the eyes, this is the big body and the sword. Thanos is the content, the screen is the frame, and this entire apparatus is called the nature of reality. Now, what does science deal with? Well, science deals with the content of reality, not the nature of it, because the nature of reality has an element of nothingness, and science can't study nothingness. It can hypothesize it, but you can't measure nothing because it's called nothing. I mean, when it comes to nothing and something, self and no self, you know what? It's a totally long topic, but you know what? Since we brought it here, we are doing this kind of, stand-up comedy, basically. Now, well, but more seriously. So this is individual waves or branches. This is the trunk or the body of the ocean. This is nothingness. But do you realize when I say nothingness, I can't just say, look, this is nothingness, because of what you're looking at. I mean, it has to be something, right? I mean, in this case, the language is the dash, the dots. But if you want to verbally say it, you call it nothing. But when you call it nothing, look at this. This is not nothing. This is nothing. This is not nothing. So in Hinduism, nothingness equals to self. But this S is a big S. It's like Superman S. It's the nature of reality, which is space. Not individual self, but space. This is totally like a Squid Game analogy. This is independent existence. This is total existence. This is space. Hinduism, well, not all Hinduism, but Vedanta and Shaivism, Kashmir Shaivism, they call it Shiva, which is a blue god. It's the god of termination. It's the terminator deity. It means it cuts through existence into the nothing nature of it. This means consciousness or Atman. We mentioned this before. And Atman is your true nature, which is nothingness, equals to nothing, a thing. But not a thing, you can write it down. If you write it as Shiva, as Atman, as nothing, as not a thing, as dots, you made it a thing. Or as a self, self is nothing. I mean, that's why it's eternal, because it's nothing. It's kind of this logical dilemma, right? This kind of oxymoron paradox. In Hinduism, self is nothing. But when it comes to Buddhism, this is the helm. I don't know. This is the helm. Self equals to nothing. But when you call it nothing or the self, you made it something. Do you see the paradox? Now, is it nothing or is it nothing? If it's nothing, then it can't be called nothing. So that's why they say no self, because it's not that they deny this concept or this kind of shorthand, this kind of a proximity. The self or nothing is not void or complete nothing. It has to be something, but it is a representation or approximation of nothing. It's used as a shorthand because you can't talk about nothing without giving it a name and making it a thing inevitably. So in Hinduism, Atman is close to nothing enough to be nothing, but it's not completely nothing. Now, do you remember when we talk about causal body, gross body, subtle body? And causality, right? What does it cause? It causes things to happen because it is space. Space has the ability to perceive, but also to direct. When you don't have a content, you direct. Space directs material to do what? To be born, to exist. So gross body, causal body, subtle body. Gross body, subtle body, causal body, ranked by density. Now, when we talk about Atman, right? This is two. Okay, gross body, subtle body, causal body. What is Atman? Atman is this causal body, because the causal body is a body, it's not complete nothing, but it's so close to the complete void of nothing, but it's still used. It is still something because you're calling it as an entity, as your true self, but it is approximation of nothing. Why are we talking about it? Well, because I was saying that the concept of gross, subtle, and causal body. This is, Ken Wilber, the philosopher, the modern American philosopher, talks extensively about the three body. In fact, when I first heard about the book Three Body Problem, I thought he's going to talk about the three bodies. I was pretty fascinated, but turns out it's not. Now, three body, yeah. So in Chinese, in Bodhidharma's writing, I forgot what it is. It says, for this means Buddha or enlightened person. This means has. This means three. This means bodies. And then he said, this. So this means material form, and then this means mental or subtle form, and then the last body is this. What is this? I told you, we talked about this before. This is Dharma. This phonetically sounds like this, F-A. So it's either Dharma or Fa or Dao in Taoism, in Hinduism, in Buddhism, and in Chinese, and in Taoism. So Dharma, the Dharma body. So in Bodhidharma's writing says enlightened person still has three bodies: the form and the mental or subtle, and the spiritual body or Dharma body, which is almost nothing but still a little bit of something. And now, by the way, what is subtle body? Did I say it? Okay, subtle body. Well, subtlety means it is not as dense as physical materials, but it's still something. So, for instance, your thought is a subtle thing. Your feelings, emotions, they are all subtle things. And those are called subtle body. They are still part of you because you do have feelings, and your feelings are part of you. They are part of the content of you, but they are not the part of the, they're not the nature of you. They are the content of you. Your thoughts, your body, they are how you are dualistically, but they are not your nature. What's your nature? Well, remember this graph? That's your nature. In Buddhism and Hinduism, nature means a few things. The totality, big T, can be nature. In Buddhism, this totality is called your nature, or this. This is an interesting word. It means sex, but it also means nature. Look at this. This is a line, right? This is a dot. This is also another dot. This character means birth or life. That means there is a line. On the other side of the line, it is kind of Atma, right? It's a dot. It's like Atma. It is almost nothing, but still something. But on the other side of this line, it is a dot, but this dot is alive. So what is the nature? What is your nature? Well, remember this drawing? Wait. Oh, I can't write. Why I can't write? Remember this nature? Now this line, right? This part of this boundary, this part is alive, this part is not alive. Not alive is space. Alive is this. So the union between things exist and don't exist is your nature, or in Buddhism, it's like this. This means see, but this is a little bit different than another word, look. Look is kind of like a worldly look. You're looking at those symbols, those individual things. This means that you clarify, you see clearly into the nature of existence, which is the union between things exist and things don't exist. Look at this. Look at what a good word. Things exist, things don't exist. The union or the separation. That's that is this Chinese word. So in Buddhist, what is the purpose of Buddhist practice? It is to see your nature of reality, which is this squid game symbol. Nothing, totality, individual things. I mean, I am trying to establish a framework for understanding all non-dual spirituality. Hinduism, Buddhism. Buddhism is a unified tradition. Hinduism is a very wide, different traditions. Some part of the Hinduism can be very dualistic, just like Abrahamic religions. However, even the dualism is to point at the nature of reality, because what is a part of the nature of reality is the dualistic individual existences like this. It is a part of it. And let's move to the next line. So the previous line means all the gates, all the senses perceives everything in the realm. And now the next line. This means interact. This means don't interact or no interaction. So all of those things perceived by the senses, they are interrelated. They are related, they are correlated, they are interconnected, but at the same time they are unrelated. Well, same Squid Game picture. Thing. Those three things, they are interconnected because deep down they are the same, but they are also different. So all of those things that you can perceive, this, and this, they are connected, but they are also not connected. It is the material dualistic nature of our perception, but also the non-delineated, non-separated, unmanifested part of it, the totality. So all things are connected, but also they are not connected. Enlightenment, sometimes people think, is about recognizing the oneness of everything. But in one of the lines, this line, which line? We went through this. This line, it says, carving out the ultimate truth is also not enlightenment. What's the ultimate truth? Well, it is the oneness, one, but it's not enlightenment. What is enlightenment? Is to know that things interact and yet they don't interact. Acknowledging both and hold the both truth, worldly truth and the unworldly truth at the same time. That, oh, you know what? This is a good character. So this means things. This means nothing, right? Does it look like this? This means the nature of reality, things that don't exist and things that exist. So just look like this. Now we are like a quarter way in, I'm guessing. No. Okay, don't get frightened. We are probably like a third way in. Now, so we went through this line. It means they interact, but they are also not interact. They're not related, but they are also related. Now, interaction leads to further involvement. I mean, interaction. Let's say your attention interact with something, grasping. Now, if you have a thought, the thought is like a cloud. It kind of flows in, and now your attention goes to see this. So a thought moves, attention tracks motion. I mean, evolutionarily, whether it's through evolutionary perspective or whatever, I mean, humans are also animals are evolved to track track motion, because when things move, it can hurt you, so you better look at it. So when you have a thought, you grasp your nature, your human nature. Well, when we say nature, there are two types of nature. One type of nature is your human, like biology nature, biological. I'm gonna move this. one type of nature is your biological, and another type is your how does it, rudiment nature, your nature of nature, So this is worldly and that is unworldly. I don't even know how to call it. There are two types of nature. Now, Stoicism says you need to the only way to determine what to do, the only measurement of morality is to follow and protect nature. Now, is that about a flower? Not really, because this nature means a human nature. And this is not human nature of everybody. This is your particular nature. So in Stoicism, nature means intuition. How do I spell it? Intuition. Intuition is your natural like propulsion or lure towards or against or repel against something. Your intuition always knows what's the right thing to do. Sometimes it doesn't make you feel good, but it feels right. Intuition is the most important thing in the world. I can go down to talk about this, like the third dimension, the fourth dimension, but by the way, nothing is mystical. All of these are logical deductions. And intuition. So, there are logical deductions, then there are spiritual traditions, philosophical traditions. And why do I talk about Stoicism? Well, honestly, sometimes I don't know if I need to divert the conversation into something else, because that can take like an hour. In short, the only way to live is to follow Stoicism. Why not Buddhism? We're talking about Buddhism because Stoicism is some practical guidance of Buddhism, and it works really easily. So even if you understand all of those, nature of reality, what does it say? It says, wait, I got app crash. Let's see. So it says, even if you understand nature of reality, it's still not enlightenment, because you have to interact with the world. It's not your choice. You can't meditate and just evaporate. No matter how you meditate, you're still going to be here. If you don't believe, just try it. Now, what does this line? I'm going to erase this. And what does this line say? It says, understanding, carving out truth is still not... no, not this line. I'm pointing at something different. So, carving out truth is still not enlightenment. Now, what do? You still need to live. How do you live? That is the question. You live like what Stoicism say. You follow nature. Not the nature of the planet, but the nature of you. Your intuition. And that's the way to live. That's the way to interact with the world. Now, we're going to talk about that later, but for now, I think I kind of, you know what? Let's erase all this. It kind of got chaotic. I'm gonna drink a sip of water. Which line did we? All senses. Interact and not. If you interact, this is the line that we talk. If you interact, then you grasp. If you grasp, such as if you chase a thought, if you pursue and give attention to a thought, then it's going to further evolve. It's like a piece of paper, right? This piece of paper, if you fold it in the middle, it becomes like this is a piece of paper. It becomes a piece of paper that folds onto itself. It folds. When you fold, you create this crease. This crease is some kind of karma, and if you keep folding it, you get a lot of creases. You get a lot of karma. If you attend to things that happens like a crease, you get more crease. If you grasp, this means interact. Okay, the first word means interact. The second word means then. This is further. this is inter. This word means inter. Well, this can mean inter and it could mean form, but here it means form. This means evolved. It means pertain to, like get more evolved. So this line means interact. The interaction leads to further involvement. If you give attention to your thought or to a situation, it will be further evolved. But if you don't, then you will, based on its position, stop. And this word means stop, but Xiangryu Suzuki also mentioned not just stop, it also has a sense of home. What is home? Home is your true nature, which is the Squid Game symbol. What's your true nature? Well, the Hindus say this is your true nature, nothingness, or it's not totality, it's nothingness, or it's Atman, or it's the capital S, self, or self. So, this word, it means rest or stop, but it also has a connotation of home. That means you become your true nature, your true self, which is emptiness. So if you don't interact with the world, you transcend the world. Nirvana, like the band. How do you spell it? Nirvana? No, it's not a band. It's Buddhism meaning. Usually people translate this as blow out, like blow out a candle, which is the wrong translation because blow out a candle is instant and has an action of blowing. Nirvana means a flame that dies down. I mean, isn't that interesting? The flame also looks like the wave or the branches dies down into totality. So if you don't interact, things are going to sit where they are as if they are home, as if you are your true nature. So, this is what Xiangryu Suzuki said, is have the whole world as your home. Poetic. Xiangryu Suzuki's commentation said that. And another interpretation, be at home where you are. I mean, it's actually the same. I don't know why I wrote two. This means stay or stop, but it also has a meaning of living at home. Now, it's so long. Let's look at this word. This means form. It's a gross form, the individual form, the material form. What about this? Oh, that's not a word, that's two words. That means, it means form, and what's this? Well, we're talking about it. It's the trunk or totality. Now, form and totality, well, it means form goes to reality, goes to totality. This is the form, right? The branches, the flame, the waves of the ocean. This is the bottom of the ocean, the mid body of the ocean. This is trunk or totality. This is form. Form goes into totality, but they look different. They look like the waves. They're different. So, form comes from totality, but they kind of evolve and kind of like disperse into. This means differ into its properties and looks. I mean, let's see how I interpret it. The totality of individual forms, although it is an undifferentiated whole, which is totality, differ in apparent properties and forms. Yeah, that's a really good way to say. So, form plus totality, it means the form that came out of totality look different in apparent property and forms. I mean, this word is a very Buddhist word. It means form. And it's in the Heart Sutra, which is not the Heart Sutra, it means Consciousness Sutra. This means gross form, like gross body, right? Gross body is your physical body. Then what is gross form? What's material things? Now, gross form, gross form, independent existence, just like those waves, those separate waves, they're individual. Now, what is totality? And meaning the totality of material derives into qualities and forms, just like the totality not evolve, but like disperses into separate forms. Okay, the next one is let's go a few more lines before we break. Okay, pay attention. This means sound. This means origin. But we've seen this word before, right? We've seen that if it's like confusion, like if you grasp onto things, then the totality will become confused. And here, sound plus totality, the big T. Sound means individual things, but it's more subtle. It is still a gross form, but it's more subtle than materials. And the individual existence that came out of totality. The individual existence that came out of totality differ in its pleasantry and unpleasantry. Okay, sound derives from the non-delineated totality, which is the totality here. Non-delineated totality into different qualities of joy and suffering. Well, this is a quality of feeling. This is a quality of feeling, suffering, and joy. I mean, this word, people like to say it's suffering, right? I mean, well, life is suffering. No, it means dukkha. How do you spell it? Dukkha. If you eat spicy food, your brain, it releases some kind of morphine that make you feel good, euphoric, because your brain thinks you are being hurt and dying. You try to make you feel, calm and joyful. So you are not suffering, but it's dukkha. It's disturbing. Anything that disturbs your peace. Okay, anything that can wake you up from a dreamless sleep, including a dream, is dukkha. Okay, sound derives from non-delineated totality into different qualities of joy and suffering. It means totality of all differing being. Are they the same? Let's see. Sometimes they have multiple interpretations. Both are right. The totality of all individuals are different. I mean, they both mean the same. One is the individual things that came from totality, like diverges into different individual things. But this means totality of individual sounds differ in being pleasant and irritating. I like the second interpretation better. Sometimes I would phrase it in two different ways, and I think the second one is better. Anyways. This word. Is this word correct? That might be the wrong writing of it. So let's see. Sandokai, right? Sandokai. I'm not sure if this writing is correct because I don't know what it means. I remember it means dark. I remember it is a different word like this. But let's look up. On top. It's a different source of information. Where is it? Oh, I was right. That is the correct writing, and down here it's incorrect. This is incorrect. It is this. We've seen this before. What does it mean? It means when you turn the light off, everything is pitch dark, and all the apparent things becomes what? A blur. You can't tell them apart. They still exist, but you can't tell them apart. This means good, means up. This means meh, mediocre. So, it means good words and bad words. Like speech, sometimes they are proper, sometimes they are not. But if you turn off the light, you can tell them apart. So darkness equalizes both refined and mediocre speeches. I guess that's what I mean. This means darkness, but this darkness is not bad. It's non-delineated totality. Now, those two words look like the same, right? But they're different. This one is a verb. This one is a noun. What is this? This brightness, right? This is brightness. Brightness means separation, because when you turn the light on, you can see this, and this. Like Squid Game, if you turn the lights off, you couldn't tell which god is what, but now you can. So this is individual existence what does it do? It brightens, it means light, but it also brightens. It brightens clear and filthy words. So those two lines work together. Well, totality combines good or bad speech, and individual existence accentuates or not clarify, but like allows the quality of speech um, or relativity or duality to exist. And things like this is up, this is middle, this is clean, this is dirty, like bad and good. I mean, also like old and young. So those are duality. Like those means if you have something good, that implies to bad. If you have someone that's young, that implies to good. As soon as youth exists, old age is implied. As long as something good happened to you, it implies something bad. Because if you have a good life, one day, well, sometimes it goes better, sometimes it goes bad. But you live in this scale of relativity, like, well, it's not relativity, but relative qualities. So if you see the nature of reality, your life good or bad doesn't make a difference. It's the same. Couldn't even tell them apart. couldn't even tell them apart. And but if you pay attention to the individual qualities, you do see some words are pleasant, some are not. Just like this line saying, the light, the brightness of the light, or the individual existence, does like put light on the difference between pleasant words and unpleasant words. Okay, this this means for and big or prominent. This is what we've seen. This is nature of reality. So the big four goes back to the nature of reality. What's the big four? You remember the Taoism saying that nothing gives birth to one gives birth to two gives birth to four. I mean, that's in ancient times. They think what the worlds are, what the world's elements are. It's basically 1, 2, 3, 4. And in like 1,500 years ago, they think the world consists of things like that. Dirt, this is water, this is wind, this is fire, or heat. So, I mean, the four big prominent elements returns to their nature, or this one. This one is the nature of reality. So all the things goes to the nature of reality. Again, branches or waves, totality, emptiness, that is the nature of reality. This means child, this means mother, but it doesn't really imply to a familial relationship. So this means subsidiary, this means the source. I mean, also in the mind map, right? The mind map goes to this and this. This is like a child item, and this is like a parent item. So like in the mind map. So those are childs. That's the mother. The mothership. So just like the subsidiaries finding their own source, if you interpret this as just like son going back to their mother, it has a worldly connotation to it, which is not what this poem is about. It is more about its like hierarchical relationship or causal relationship than the familial relationship. This is why most of those translations are incorrect, because you have to understand what he's trying to say. I mean, to decipher this is not son but subsidiary, this is not mother but source. And this is why most translations are not correct, because they don't really understand what they were supposed to, what the Buddhist, it's not a theology, but the Buddhist theories are, right? Hey, by the way, we talk about the four big elements. What are they? Fire, wind, water, earth, or dirt. I mean, it just describes the quality of that. Fire heats, wind moves, water wets, and the earth or the dirt solidifies. I like that. Solidifies. Solid. And I'm thinking about there's another thing called anyways, I'm not going to go there. That's going to be another half an hour. So now we're talking about things that exist. I mean, back in the days, people think those are the fundamental elements, like worldly elements. But now we know there are way more. And those are your gates. Remember when we said there's a saying that all the gates that perceives everything are those. The gates, what are the gates? Eye, ear, nose, tongue. Oh, this is not the right way. Tastes. So, I mean, those elements, they impact on things, and also the eyes perceives, the ear and nose, tongue also perceives. But those are not the only ones. There are 6. Remember, we said 6. Previously, we had, I think we mentioned something. Oh, here. This means 6. This is gate, your perception organs. And it's 6 root or 6 faculties. They are the eye, ear, nose, tongue, bodily touch, and mental perceiver. But it's not the perceiver of totality. It's the perceiver of individual things. Those words, they are the same, but they are interpreted differently. I mean, that's why Buddhism is self-encrypted. You have to know what they try to say before you read it to read it correctly. If you understand one poem or one sutra, you understand everything about Buddhism. So, if you understand this poem thoroughly, then you understand everything in Buddhism. And then that's everything in meditation, basically. I mean, traditionally, those meditative practices, they are delineated. They are denominational. I mean, a Zen monk does something different from a Tibetan Buddhist. And, I mean, they do work. Like, if you are a Zen monk for your life and you do it well, you do achieve something, like whether it's nirvana on the way there. I mean, just because it's denominational doesn't make it less. But now, with information and the free communication, we actually can look at different denominations from a view of looking at them from the same teaching, the same Dharma. Dharma here means teaching of Dharma. Now, so those are the 4 perception gates, but actually there are 6. This word means nature. Oh, but this nature is not the planetary nature. It is the nature of all things. Now, this means nature. Nature of reality. Nature of reality, what's this? Well, we've seen the other word means gate. That means all gate. This means one. Well, I mean, you can guess this means one. One. This word, okay. This word is Dharma, but it doesn't mean Dharma. How do you spell Dharma? Dharma. This Dharma is several Dharma. What's several Dharma? Well, Dharma sometimes means the emptiness. Well, it doesn't mean emptiness actually, because emptiness is not a concept in Buddhism. Sometimes it means totality. Sometimes it means the several things came from totality, the waves, the individual existence. So this means individual things. Well, this means Sarvadharma. This means the individual things. This word means in. So nature of reality pervades the existence of individual things. Oh, okay. So now, nature of reality is in individual things. This in the Heart Sutra, it's this word. It means Sarvadharma. But here it is written originally in Chinese. Instead of translated, it means one thing, another thing, and Dharma. It means Sarvadharma. It's the same thing as this word in the Heart Sutra. Next line. Well, this one means following or based on or because of. Because of what? Because of the root. What is the root? Well, because of the shared root, the leaves spread apart. Well, we talk about trees a lot. We talk about another word called the trunk, right? The trunk, and then the branches. Well, there's also a root, but root sometimes it means something a little bit different, because root actually sometimes means nothingness. Nothingness is in this graph, like this is nothingness. Nothingness contains the totality. Totality spreads into individual things. And I mean, this word is called root. It can mean emptiness or totality. Interestingly, Buddhism does talk about nothingness, but it tries to steer away from it. It doesn't want to dwell on emptiness. So, I mean, when it says non-self, like people say the difference between Buddhism and Hinduism is non-self in Buddhism. This is self. This is also self. This is the Hindu self. This is the Buddhist no self. I mean, Hindu also say no self, but this, the anatma, how do you spell it? Anatma, A means nothing, not. Atma, isn't that familiar to Atman? Well, it's the same word. Atman is the true self, capitalized S, but no Atman. It doesn't mean you deny the concept because they are not useful. It means A means I don't talk about. So we don't talk about Atma, that's it. It can be we don't talk about Atma, or there's no separate existence. The Dalai Lama said that very frequently. It's about co-arising, about everything rise simultaneously. In the original form of Buddhism, there's impermanence, and there's dukkha, which is suffering, which is a bad translation, but it means disturbance. Actually, dukkha means bullshit. That's it. Dukkha means bullshit. Impermanence, bullshit, and what's the last one? Co-arising. No, that's no self and co-arising, and Atma. So in the original form of Buddhism, I mean, they focus on the inward attention placement to realize the fleeting nature of thoughts and bodily sensations, and dukkha, disturbances, as well as non-inherent nature of a solid self. And that is the original forms of Buddhism. Why am I saying this? So this word means because. This is root. Because of the root, leaves can spread apart. Now, this drawing, this is the most important drawing in the world. So, well, this could be the root, or this could be the root. But both are non-dual, by the way. Now, because of this, those leaves, branches can spread apart. But when they were spread apart, they spread apart. This could mean like positionally following, but also could mean like conceptually because of. So it could be the leaves can spread because there's totality. Without the totality nature, you and I can't exist. Now, next line. This word, even if you don't read Chinese, you know what it means already. It means the trunk. It means totality. Now we will talk about two concepts. In Xiangrou Suzuki's lecture, it's spelled Ji and Li, or it's the same thing as Shi and Li. This one is written in Chinese and Japanese as this. This one is this, something like that. So, versus, this is things, the individual things. This is the rationale, the nature of reality. Now we have this. We have this word and this word. This means nature of reality, means totality. This literally means the end. But it's not the end in time. It's the end in form. You know, this is a tree. Those are branches. What is the end of this tree? Well, it's the branch. It's the tip of the branches. What does it look like? It looks like this form. Individual waves, individual branches. So now, this is actually a really interesting line. I mean, it does say something that usually is not said in Buddhism. Well, every line I'm going to draw this. This is the end piece, the end, the individual existence. This is totality. They are all one. This is empty space, the representations of it. Now, this line means the totality and the individual bits and pieces, they all go back to this. This means origin, but here it means void and nothingness. And usually we don't talk about nothingness in Buddhism. We don't make this a particularly important thing, but it doesn't mean we don't talk about it. We do talk about it. We talk about causal body as the Dharma body, which is Atman. When Bodhidharma wrote about the Dharma body or Fa, and he's talking about Atman. It's the same thing. The same concept, different words. Who cares? Same framework, different words, and it means the same thing. Now, so this line means the totality and the individual bits and pieces, duality, must return. That's what I can see. Must return to the root. In this case, this root is not really totality, but it is the space of totality. However, well, in a lot of non-dual religions, the light is the light of consciousness. What is the light? Well, in Kashmir Shaivism, or should I say Kashmir Shaivism or some other example? So Shiva is the god of termination. It pervades all form. It is the space that pervades all form. Versus Shakti. Shakti is the goddess that provides life but also destroys life. This is space, this is materials. But it's different from what we said, Atma and Brahman, because Brahman is the whole, is the totality. Shakti is the several form came out of Dharma. And so space and light, they are one. So now, this is the totality, or Brahman, or the source of Shakti. This is Shiva. Ta-da. Now I said it. This is Shiva. But it doesn't exclusively mean Shiva. It means something else too. But they mean the same thing here. Ta-da. Look at this. Or this means Atman too. But here's the thing. Words have connotations. This is like a pointer pointing to nothing. But it doesn't say this is nothing, because you can't say nothing while maintaining it as nothing. So, yeah, that's the fundamental linguistic difference between Buddhism and Hinduism. A lot of people think it's ideological, but it's not. Now, the trunk and branches must follow its nature, or is what it means, but literally means totality and separate existence. Totality, separate existence, existence must be traced back to. Oh, I said return, but trace back to is a better wording. The branches and the totality can be traced back to the space, the void and nothingness. This is the trunk, totality. This is individual existence, or the branches. This is the source, or void, or nothing, or Shiva, or Atma, or what else? Or the self with capital S, not individual, but nothing. Respect, despise. Ooh, there's another word. This word. And this means this means words. So words can function to respect or despise. Function is this word. This means function. But so we previously talked about different concepts and the parallel of it. Shit. No. Anyways, I'm gonna write it down. There is things and rationale versus there's the trunk or totality versus bits and pieces or branches. You know what I'm saying? Branches. But now we have another one. Now we have both words mean function. One is called this. One is called yeah. You know what this word is? No. Kung Fu. Fu sometimes means people, but here it means time. And Kong means effort or use or function. So now you have the function of this and the function of this. Now, Kung Fu is the form or non-form. Well, as a martial art is form. So this function is the form function. This function is transcendental function. This word means use. Like you use a pan to cook a potato or fry an egg. Do you fry? Anyways, you cook something with a pan. So in modern Chinese, this means use. It just literally use. But in Buddhism, it means something different. It means, oh shit, it blow out. It means transcending. It has a function and a purpose, and that purpose is not practical, not material, but it's transcending. Now we have two words, okay? This word means function or use. This also function or use. But one is about transcending the material form. One is about function within the material form. You know, when like 10 years ago, there's an album. It's called Two Lanes of Freedom. It's from Tim McGraw. And Two Lanes of Freedom. In Buddhism, there's two truths. Truth. What's the two truths? Worldly truth. Like if you throw a ball at a tree and hit that tree, the tree will be hit. It's like worldly truth. Or I don't know, if you put coolant into your engine, then the engine is going to be flooded with coolant. Then you're gonna, I don't know, it's something about science, about logic, about science, about material, about the rule, the law of nature. This nature means the material world, worldly wisdom, worldly knowledge, and the nature of the world. So two kinds of knowledges, two truths. Both are ways for freedom, two types of freedom. Worldly freedom, have a lot of money, and transcendental freedom. No matter you have money, not having money, wealthy, not wealthy, who you are doesn't change. The frame of the movie theater and the Thanos. Thanos is the worldly thing. You can defeat Thanos or not, but the theater is not going to be destroyed just because what's on the picture is destroyed. You know, in the movie, you know, the world is destroyed by Thanos, so, you know, the world is destroyed. But the theater isn't. The nature isn't. There are a lot of meditative practice comes out of this, like frame, but I'm going to talk about meditation separately. Now, the reason we say that, we'll try to do the separation. Oh, by the way, separation of things, rationale, the branches, and the totality, and the practical function, worldly function, and a transcendental function, or truth function. Now, that, let's see, where is it? Okay. It's following. Oh, it's all the way back. Okay, this word, this is the transcendental function. So, respect, disrespect, and the nature of reality, the transcendence is in its word. That means whether this word you use is respectful or it's not respectful, the unifying nature, transcending nature of blend everything together is exactly where they are. So when you see an apple, you know, like a physical apple, I mean, it's a separate object, but the unity, the fundamental nature of everything being one total combined thing is still there, whether it's in an apple or in a car. That's respect and despise. Well, how do I say it? Words can function to respect or despise. I don't like this one. I mean, I wrote it, but this function is not a worldly function. It's about transcending. That means when you say a bunch of things, you can say really great words, you can swear, but the truth is in all of them. I mean, a lot of people think, well, following certain religions or traditions, it makes sense. But people think if you don't say the right words or do the right thing, then truth or God will diminish. But if God and truth can be diminished because you said something, that means it's relative. It's no longer absolute. Truth will not diminish because you said the word fuck. It does nothing. It doesn't care. Because the word fuck is the wave, the word. This is I love you. This is fuck you. This is son of a bitch. This is I am Superman. I mean, they look very different, but totality is the same. So totality, the nature of reality, doesn't give a fuck about what kind of fuck you say, because it doesn't diminish the reality. Ultimate reality is absolute because it can't be gained or diminished. This is one of the lines from the Heart Sutra or Consciousness Sutra. So respect, basically saying things like I love you, and despise, basically the word fuck. The nature, transcendental nature, is in its exact word, love or fuck. It transcends. Okay, these two lines are also important. They are very easily misunderstood. A lot of people doesn't divide these two, so they think when there is darkness in the light, don't encounter the darkness. Which makes sense, right? If there's darkness in the light, like the I don't know, I never watched Star Wars, but I heard it's about some kind of darkness or something. So I mean, it looks like he's saying when there's darkness in the light, don't encounter the light. But how about this? This line means when there is light in the when there's light in the darkness, don't encounter or look at the light. Then it doesn't make sense. So light and darkness doesn't mean good or bad. It means totality and individual things. Light means light shines on individual things so that you can see it. You don't believe it? Look at this. You can see things, right? Now can you see things? No, you can't because it's dark. Now it's bright. Now you can see things. So brightness, it doesn't mean when there is darkness in the light. If you do, that means you are trying to divide this line here when there's darkness in the light. But as we see in Chinese poetry, it's very important to maintain a form. If you understand this linguistic tradition, you would interpret it in something completely differently. Now, the first word is the same. The first word is when, or in that situation, or confronting. Now, or confronting the brightness. What's brightness? Now you can see these three different things, right? What about this? Now you can't see it anymore. Well, you can still see, but it's not pitch dark. If it's pitch dark, then you can see. So when there's light, this is different from this. In that situation, there is still, this means has or have darkness. That means the darkness exists even when the light is on. So if you are in a room, you turn on the light, that kind of unifying nature is still there when you turn on the light. Things are not suddenly becoming different or separate. Their nature of unity is still there. Sameness or totality. So in the light, things are still non-delineated as if it's pitch dark. So when the light is on, things are separate. In that situation, there is still unifying totality. In duality, there is still non-duality. Because non-duality is the father and grandfather of duality. Duality, separate things. Non-duality, totality. Grandfather is the space that gives birth to totality. Remember the Taoist saying? Nothing gives birth to totality. Totality gives birth to two things. Two things give birth to four elements. Four elements gives birth to whatever. And so these two lines are together. When you, even in the light of separation, there is the darkness of, the combining nature of totality. This means don't. This is interesting. This means use. Don't use. This means meet. This means dark. This means totality. So it looks like don't encounter the darkness, but it doesn't. Okay. Okay. That word meet, it looks like you are encountering it, but it has something more extreme. This is an arrow. This is another arrow. Now what are they doing? They are meeting or encountering, but they are opposing each other. That means in the brightness of duality, there is the unifying nature of unfabricated, non-delineated nature. So don't use the duality to reject or encounter or contradict and deny the totality. So totality exists in duality, so don't deny totality. That's what those two lines are for. I don't think too many people understand this at all. So, just so you know, this is one of the two important lines, and it's very widely misunderstood. In the separation of duality, there is non-duality, so don't be against duality. That's what those two lines mean. Now, those two lines are a couple. That's the format. It's like two lines, one sentence. Now, this is the same thing. So, at first you said you said in duality there is non-duality, but now you're saying in non-duality, dark, right? This light means delineation. In totality, there is still non-duality. What the fuck is that, right? Oh my God! So when you try to meditate, you try to transcend, but guess what? When you transcend, things are still there. It's not like you meditate and you dissolve all boundaries, things doesn't exist. It feels like it doesn't exist, and it actually doesn't exist, but still it exists. So when you try to meditate, you try to transcend the mundane. Hey, don't deny the mundane. The mundane is part of it. I mean, this means non-delineated, like in the dark. Turn off the light, nothing exists. Turn off the light, nothing exists. That's dark. This is the same. This is in the middle. This means middle. This means has. This means bright. So when in the dark, what exists in the light still exists. When you meditate, worldly things still there. It doesn't disappear. Even when it disappeared, it doesn't disappear. When you transcend something, it doesn't mean impracticality doesn't exist anymore. Don't use what? Use duality to. This means look, but this look is kind of a confrontational look. I mean, it actually also means to oppose each other. So this doesn't mean don't look at the bright sun. It means when there is duality, when there is duality in non-duality, don't oppose the duality. Don't reject life. So enlightenment is not to reject life. If you think it is, that goes to this line. Carving out truth is still not enlightenment. Carving out truth is still not enlightenment. So meditation is not enlightenment. So yeah, live your life is enlightenment. So, the highest form of meditation is to not meditate. A lot of people don't get that. Duality, non-duality, what exists in the light, what exists in the dark, each inter-oppose. So, duality and non-duality, they look like they are different, they are opposed to each other. But they are like two footsteps that follow each other. So in the phenomena of materials, the totality exists because all of that, they are the same. That means when you are not meditating, what's this? Meditation happens. I'm going to write that down. When you are not meditating, meditation happens. When you are not meditating, meditation happens, because not meditation, each inter-oppose, just like the front and back step. Just like when you are walking, you need both. You need both duality or mundane or unenlightenment and enlightenment to walk forward. Walking, you need enlightenment and delusion of worldly existence to walk forward. You need both. Two steps that follows each other. Now, next line. This means all things. This means 10,000. It's actually a swastika, but you can't draw it. This means all things, 10,000 things. self. Well, this self is not capital S, it's small s. Small s. Okay, all of those things in its individual separation has, what is this? This means function, but guess what? Guess what we just established? So there are two types of function, right? This function means transcendental function. This function means worldly function. Now what? Let's look. Okay. Now we see those two words used together. One is worldly function. One is transcendental function. So nature of reality exists in all things as they are. Is this correct? This is not nature of reality, by the way. How do I translate this? This is all things, but this is savadharma. This is individual things. There are a lot, but they doesn't mean total things. It means a lot of individual things. In itself has a worldly function, but as you say, as you point to it, this means say, but also as you refer to it. As you refer to it, the transcendence is exactly as where that worldly function is. Let's say you are a mechanic. When you fix a car, the nature of reality transcends the action of function of fixing a car. So all things has its worldly function, and as you referring to that function, the transcendence into the nature of reality is where at this place. This means place. This means, I think it means at. This means transcendental function. This means worldly function. This means when. This means speak or refer to. This means all things, but it's not the totality. It's all things individual. This in itself has. Nature of reality exists in all things. I think it's better translated as all things have their own worldly purpose, but when you refer, as you refer to them, there is nature of reality that transcends their worldly function. Let's take a break before we move on. So we're here. Take a break. Now let's look at what the last part of Sandokai means. So word by word. This one means things. This one means reason or understanding of the nature of reality. And previously we explored those two words that creates this dichotomy of individual things and the understanding that things don't exist separately. So this line means things exists, just like the box and the lid fits. So this word nowadays means envelope, used to mean box. And then this word means lid, the lid of the box. So individual things, they do exist, just like the box and the lid, they fit. So there's an inevitability that you can't deny that things are just illusion, that they are not existing. That is your projection of the mind, because they do exist. It's hard to deny the existence of individual things. Materials are real. The lid does fit the box. However, even though things are there, but what else happens is this. This is reason or understanding of the nature of reality, but this one is a capital M. Nature of reality. What does it do? It responds. Or it answers. So the nature or truth answers. This is an arrow, and this means sharp, like the point, and this means move to. So the nature of reality responds like the tip of the sharp arrow that hits the individual things. So it's a poetic expression that means the precision and the inevitability, precise, and the inevitability of totality. because no matter how small something exists, the nature of reality transcends them and encompasses them. So, individual things, a wave or branches, and the big trunk of a tree or the ocean, the waves, it looks like a typhoon, but the body of the ocean is still, doesn't move, even though the surface is violent. So the surface is individual things and individual people, and the depth is non-duality. Now, individual waves, they do exist, but they all belong to the same dependent origin or totality, and this totality will not let any any tip of the wave go, because it answers immediately like a fast, sharp point of a needle point of a arrow. So things do exist, but nature of reality doesn't let things go. That means things exist, but things also don't exist. Now, let's look at the next line. This line means when you hear the teaching, this means receiving, this means words, must contemplate the origin. What does the origin mean? So, on the literal sense, it means hearing the word. You need to understand the origin. But in this case, the word can mean the teaching of truth, big T, or totality. Now, we talked about Dharma, or there are a few ways that we can use Dharma, the word, for. One is nature of reality. The other is the teaching of the nature of reality. And we can even use things like Sava Dharma, which means the individual existence that derives from the totality of Dharma. Now, when it comes to the nature of reality, what is it? Well, it means the waves, the totality, and the space, or sometimes the union of the thing and the totality of the union of nothing and the totality of all things. So when you hear the words or the teaching of wisdom, the nature of reality, you need to contemplate the nature of reality. So in other words, don't eat the menu, eat the food. So when you hear the teaching of Buddhism and Hinduism, you must contemplate the origin. And what is the origin? Well, yesterday we encountered that word before. And last time we encountered this word, it is the relationship between the trunk, or totality, and the branches, or individual existence. Last time we encountered that word, it refers to the branches, individual existence, and the totality, the big trunk of the tree. They both must go back to the root. So the root means the origin. So here, this means individual things or duality. This means totality, big blob of things, and this means emptiness. It's not an emptiness in the Buddhist term, because in Buddhism, emptiness means the totality of all things. But in Hindu, in Vedanta, in Kashmir Shaivism, the absolute void is nothing. So here we are alluding to the emptiness of nothing. So both individual things and the totality of individual things, they all can be traced back to the completely nothing. So when you hear the word of teaching, whether it's about the relationship between things and combined things, or the relationship between combined things to the void, when you hear the teaching of non-dual spirituality you must contemplate its origin, which means emptiness or void, and where totality comes from. So the nature of reality must be contemplated upon perceiving the worldly concepts, or the teaching of non-duality. Now, this line has been very widely misinterpreted, and I will explain why. This means don't. This means self. This means either impose or stand in. This means this. So the ruler and the grid. So when you have the instruments that draws the grid, things dualistically, they can exist. So this is the dualistic world. This means ruler. This means instruments that draws. That means dualistic realm, the dualistic world. So this line can either mean don't impose, means impose duality, or it also means functions and live in duality. But what about this too? Well, on a literal sense, it means, well, don't self. So it can mean either don't do something called a selfing. Like when you think with egoic and self-centered motivation, that would be selfing, self-referential, self-thinking. But it also means deny the self, which fits the Buddhist term of anattama. Oh, there's one T, I think. It's anatta or anattama. So anattama, no self. But again, the self means no individual self. It doesn't mean no void or empty, because Buddhists, they don't talk about the void or empty. So anattama means two things. One is no individual self, like those waves, those branches, they don't exist independently because they co-arising from this totality. But Buddhism, they do acknowledge the void. I mean, like when we say the root of the tree, that's the void, because the trunk and the branches, they all go back to the root, which is the void. They do acknowledge the void, and they have words for it, but they don't dwell there because they don't want to talk about the root, the void or emptiness. They don't talk about it because you can't talk about the void without making it into something, and that's a paradox. So anattama, no self, means two things. One is no individual self. The other is that we don't talk about the capital S self. So self or self, small s, self. We don't talk about this, and we don't think this exists. That's the anattama concept of Buddhism. Now, and the two words means deny the existence of individual self, but you can still stand in or function in the world of duality. The reason this line is widely misinterpreted is because the format, the structure. In modern Chinese or modern Japanese, I mean, this is written in Chinese and Japanese, the same word, same language. So this poem has maintained this structure throughout. That means it's 2 words and 3 words, 2 words and 3 words. Here, if you think it means don't set up the rules by yourself or for yourself, you would break this structure, and there's no purpose and there's no point for breaking this structure arbitrarily when you have 20, 30 lines of the same structure. It breaks the structural rule of the poem. So we can't say don't set up rules for yourself like traditionally it's interpreted. We must draw the line right here in between these 2 words and the 3 words. That means deny the self, but also functions in the world of duality. Now, I thought, possibly, because a lot of those poems and ancient texts, they are lost, and they are like misrepresented by a society that's possibly largely illiterate. So this means deny the self. But what if it is no self? Because this word and this word sound the same. What if, possibly, this actually means anattama? So, anattama, maybe without the N. So this can also mean no self, but also stand or exist in the world of duality. That means yourself don't exist, but you can stand in the world of duality. Even though the individual existence don't exist, you can still function as individual self, as a seemingly individual self in the world of seeming duality, which means the rules, the grids. This means the rules and the grids. It means the dualistic world that is composed by grids. Now, and so it means even when you deny the existence of self, you can still impose laws of duality or stand in a world of duality. And you can also think about this as don't do selfishness. Don't do self-referential thinking. So And so this line means even though you need to deny the individual self, at the same time, your individual self can exist apparently in a apparent world, even though they are not true. So this entire poem is about things that don't exist but exist at the same time. Things are separate, but also in truth they are one. But that oneness doesn't break the fact they are still individual, just like the box and the lid. They still fit. The box and the lid, they still fit, even though things are total, things are combined. They are the Brahman, or totality of all things. Now the next line. This means contact. This means eyes or vision. This means don't or no. This means contemplation. This means dharma. Dharma, or in this case, it's pronounced as Dao, or sometimes it's Tao. So it means the way of something or the nature of reality. So when you see without contemplating its nature, so when you see form, worldly form, without contemplating the nature of worldly form. And this line works with the next line. So when you see worldly objects without contemplating their nature, but identifying their form as what exists individually, if you don't contemplate the nature of things when you see the form of them, what's going to happen is the next line. This means walk. This means move your foot and walk. This means how could you understand the road? So this line means you won't be able to go far because you don't know where the road is. If you want to progress and walk, but you don't know the road, you don't know the direction, because the understanding of non-dual spirituality is not about accumulation one top of each other and then you grow. That is that takes time. So spirituality doesn't take time. It's instant and in the moment. Although your worldly matter is also real, your karma is still real, your life is still real, but spiritual awakening doesn't take time. If you don't understand that individual things goes back to totality goes back to complete nothingness that surrounds both individual things and totality. If you don't understand this, you won't be able to walk because you don't know the road. So you won't go far because you don't know the direction of truth. Now the next line, well, it means progress is not a matter of near and far. A lot of things takes accumulation to learn. Usually the understanding of worldly knowledge, to understand different shapes, different elements, it takes time to learn, and it is gradual. But in the case of enlightenment, it's instant. It doesn't take time. So the progress you make in spirituality, your understanding of truth, is not a matter of close or far because it doesn't go gradually. It is instant. And the progress is not a matter of near and far. This means illusion, delusion. We actually saw this word before. Is the last time we saw this, it means grasping onto things is illusion. So the illusion, same illusion, blocks or separates like the mountain and the river caused it. So if you don't understand non-duality, if you don't understand the nature of things that are traced back to the one big Brahman in Hinduism, or totality, or in Buddhism, emptiness, or shunyata, they're all the same thing. Shunyata, emptiness, the Hindu Brahman, they're all the same thing. If you don't understand the nature, then the illusion, the delusion will block your progress, will separate your progress. That means it's not a gradually attainment. It is either you see or you don't see. Just like the Chinese word, this means nature. Well, it also means sex, but here it means nature. So it means nature. So the nature is so the understanding of nature is separated by this line, and on the one side there is no thing, and on the other side there are things. So wait until this app to reload. So when you see that line, there's one dot on one side. There's a dot with a word that means life. So this is the nature. The definition of this word means nature. And what is nature? Nature means on this side there is a thing. It's kind of a thing. It's a representative thing, but it's not alive. This means alive. So this thing is alive, but this thing is not. And this is Atma in Hindu theology, and this is Brahman, or emptiness, or totality. So if you don't understand this, if you don't understand nothingness and totality, if you think totality consists of individual things that are not one, then your understanding is blocked, just like this line. So it's blocked like the mountain and the river caused it. So if you don't see true nature of reality, you will not get better or progress or become more, wise and enlightened and tranquil. So now, that's the word. Illusion of duality can block you like it's caused by mountains and rivers. Next line. These two lines work together. They are like, this is a comma. So this means carefully, or earnestly, or what else can it mean? It means carefully, or cautiously. Well, because what it's about to say is important. This means confess, or it means tell. This means contemplation. This means deep. This means people. So it's saying I need to carefully and earnestly and critically tell the people that contemplates depth. This is a comma. Well, what's depth? Well, as in our model, this is the wave of the ocean, and this is the body of the ocean. The surface, they move, but the body don't move. It's still. This is depth. This is a tsunami. This is a typhoon. But within that typhoon, the water didn't move. It doesn't move. The bottom doesn't move. Well, if you see this as a tree, then this is the root, and this is the trunk, and this is the branches. So when it's saying contemplation of depth, that means people that try to learn the recognition of nature as a totality, a Brahman, as emptiness instead of individual things. People that want to be disenchanted, disillusioned from form. So it means I need to carefully tell those people that contemplate non-dual philosophy. It's important to inform people that learn non-dualism what. And now this is the most misunderstood line of this poem. First one means day. Second one means night. This one means don't. This means void. This means pass. Or transcend. It's important to know that word of passing, as if passing your life or passing the time, this word means pass. But in Buddhist case, it also means something else. It means transcend. Let's see. Transcend. And this is important because this is not just about living your life. Because this is not about how you live your life. And traditionally, people conventionally misinterpret this line as don't waste your time, as if the author is trying to inform you and alert you to not live your life in vain and to grasp the moment and so forth. But that's the opposite of its meaning, because the point of non-dualism is to not grab onto anything, is to basically waste your life in vain. So this doesn't mean don't waste your life in vain, but instead, day, night in combination, they mean time. This means don't. This means, well, people say don't waste your time in vain. Well, it does mean vain, but what else is vain? Well, vain is the void. Void. Or, that doesn't look like void. It means the void. Also, maybe what Atma is referring to inadequately, or what else does it mean? It means what we saw we used it twice, origin or this word. So this word means vain, but that's just on the surface. But because it actually means void, and if you combine this meaning, which means transcend, so now we have the meaning of this entire sentence. It means when you live your life in this scale of time, this means time, but this specifically means the time in duality. It means, well, Buddhism is encrypted because they don't want people that are not ready to know, because they can misinterpret it. If you shove this down people's throat, they won't understand it, they will misinterpret it and do even worse. So this means day plus night. Also mean time, because it implies time. It implies time. And time implies duality. In a non-dual world, you are like an ocean blob under the surface of the ocean. Imagine like billions of years ago, nothing existed. It's only water, and maybe there's a blob of water, but with higher density. For this blob, it doesn't know what's up, what's down, what's front, what's back. It is until it hits the ocean floor that it has a bottom. Now it's flat. And then gradually the senses develop, and then you have eyes. When you have eyes, you can navigate the challenges, maybe survive better. Now you have this animal with an eye. It's the kind of thing that lives on the ocean floor. And eventually, maybe some of them follow the light, the intuitive light, and they come to the surface and they evolved into humans. And so that's the trajectory of life. And for this blob, originally, there's no such thing as dimension. The dimension of a line, a surface, an object, a three-dimensional object, and the evolution of a three-dimensional object in time. And when it's saying time, it's referring to the complexity of dimensions from the first one, the bottom and up of this early animal, the bottom of the ocean, to knowing what's front, what's back, and to knowing what's even left and right. And then we have the perception of three dimensions, and eventually, maybe millions or billions of years now, maybe animals can somehow understand time before the moment arrives. So when it says the day and night, it doesn't mean how you live your life. It means duality. So ultimately, day and night, day plus night means duality. So transcend, void. So this line importantly means don't transcend duality into the void. And my God, this is the opposite of what conventionally this is translated into. Conventionally, it means don't waste your life in vain. Now, this line means, or don't just. So this line means don't just transcend duality, because this entire poem is about the relationship between duality and non-duality. And at the time when people are obsessed about spiritual in the moment presence, now things are not two but they are one, it's important to not just get to the pyramid, the pinnacle of the knowledge, but also see the holistic body of the knowledge. This is a pyramid, this is the pinnacle, this is emptiness or shunyata. But it's not everything, because now you have the regulation of mind, you have the regulation of the life. Now, this line importantly means, I'm going to use a more important color. Don't, I can say just, transcend Don't just transcend what time implies, which is duality or dualistic experience, dualistic existence. So when you do anything, when you play soccer, when you drink from a cup, the cup, yeah, you can transcend the cup because the nature of the cup is the same as the soccer ball. But at the same, don't just transcend it. You can transcend it, but don't just transcend it because, the object, this is a soccer, this is a triangle, this is a cup. Those things ultimately, they all go back to the totality of all things, but they are still independent. So don't just transcend duality. And that's this important word, this important sentence that's been mistranslated as don't waste your life in vain. It has nothing to do about wasting your life. In fact, waste your life if you can. Don't just transcend duality. There are what's in the light and what's in the dark, and don't just transcend into non-duality. Remember what we said about night and dark? This is what you see. The reason you see all of this is because there is light. If you turn off the light, then you can't see it anymore. Can you see it? Well, maybe slightly because it's not completely dark. But after you turn it off, then you can't see those things anymore. Then they become one. So things exist in the light. They are individual. Things also exist in the dark. Well, they are nothing. They are empty. They are shunyata. They don't exist because you can't see them, because you can't discern them. The boundaries dissolve. So what's in the dark, what's in the light, and what's in the dark, they both exist. And when you see things in the light, don't deny that the totality or the dark or the phenomenon of what's in the dark, what combines in the dark, exists. That's why in the earlier poem it says, when you see totality or nature of oneness, don't reject them here. I think it's all kind of covered right here. So this entire poem is about consolidating the conventional view, looking at things as independent things to interact with each other. And the reason why this dualistic thinking can be harmful is because dualistic thinking is the foundation of both love and hate, of love story or war. Have you ever watched a war movie without at least two people in it? At least hinted to? Have you ever watched a love story with only one character's ever hinted to? And there's never been another person's memory or another person exists? If it's just one person, how can there be a war or love story? Then what if you expand your identification or recognition of yourself into another person? Now what if when you look at this person, it's not just a different person, but it's an extension of you? Then how can you love this person or hate this person? You can't, because it's part of you. Well, you can love, but that love is not dualistic. It's not dualistic love because this person is a part of you. So when you look at, this is an eyeball. When you look at another person and you see this person as a part of you, because, well, it is a part of you. Because when you look at this person, if you see him as a part of you or see her as a part of you, then that is non-dualistic love with capital L instead of the small l, This is dualistic. It takes romance. It takes interaction. The big love doesn't take interaction because it is part of you. Love is to see another person as yourself, but from the point of view of another. One of you and them both. So, things about love, truth. Love and truth is the same thing. Truth means the understanding of the nature of things. But when you understand the nature of things, now everything becomes part of you. And now you have a capital L love. That's what love means in the non-dualistic world. In Buddhism and Hinduism, this is what love means. It means when you look at a table, it's part of you. So if you love a person, that person is also a table, because that table is no different from a person. This is great wisdom, but at the same time, this poem is reminding us, hey, don't just look at a table and think this is your girlfriend, because it's a table. It is a part of your girlfriend, but it's also different. You need to know both. One is dual, one is not dual. One is two, means the table is a table, a person is a person. One is totality or one. That means, well, everything is is a combined one. Another example, I mean carbon, right? Carbon. This is R, carbon. Well, carbon is what makes a tree a tree, but it's also what makes a human a human. So in a way, when you look at a human and a tree, they look very different. But you can say they're all carbon-based things. And eventually, Hindu has this concept of Brahman. Brahman is the universal material that made everything. This is not Brahma. There's an N in the end. If it's Brahma, it's one of the three Trinity gods. But this means Brahman. That means a fundamental substance that makes everything, not just carbon, but what carbon is made of. It's what makes the tree, makes a person, makes the dog, makes the elephant, makes the stars. And that fundamental substance is called Brahman. And let me give you another example. So if you have some jewelry, this is some kind of necklace, this is some kind of a ring, a wedding ring, whatever. So, wedding ring is diamond, but let's say this is a gold ring. So now this is a table. On this table, there's a cloth because you're going to put some gold on it. There's a gold, that's a gold triangle, there's a gold circle, there's a gold a pair of scissors, there's a gold book. Now, when you look at those things, do you see that there's a cup, there's a book, there's a necklace? Or do you see there's a bunch of gold? You see there's a bunch of gold because the value of gold is so high to you that you don't see those individual things as independent anymore. You see them as gold or Brahman or emptiness or emptiness or empty. So only when the value of the substance like the gold surpasses the utility, purpose, and value of cups, now you don't see this cup as a cup, you see this as certain ounces of gold because the value of the substance surpasses the utility value of the shape. And now this is what I'm asking you, what spirituality asking you to do is to see everything for their substance, for the gold. Imagine gold or whatever substance makes every carbon, silicon, every chemical particles, and that thing has value. And when you have a group of things on the table or a group of people in a building, they are not separate things anymore because if the substance of humanity, love, truth, of Brahman, of emptiness surpasses the utilitarian value of independent things, a mark, a person, then you no longer see a mark as a mark, but you see a mark as gold because it's made of gold, or Brahman, or emptiness. So that is spiritual practice, is to see this mark not as a mark, but as its substance, shunyata, emptiness. But that is what conventionally what is being taught to about non-dualism. However, this poem, the purpose of it is to teach you to not just look at a mark as Brahman or emptiness, because it is both empty. It doesn't mean the emptiness of the cup, but empty nature of this thing. But it also means duality is real. So this is a cup, but it's a gold cup. So it is gold, it's also cup. It has two values, two truths, two lanes of freedom. One is absolute by nature, the other is utilitarian and relative, and in a dualistic world. And the poem of this, the purpose of this poem is to inform you. When you practice, carefully tell you, the people that contemplate depth don't just transcend duality into emptiness. Don't just transcend duality into emptiness. When you see a cup, this is also a cup. So don't just do things like the power of now, which is great. It's one side of the truth, but it's only one side. So duality is real, function is real, karma is real. In the original Buddhism, it's about, you might have heard of Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path. It's about transcending what you feel in your mind. So it doesn't deal with the outside world. It only deals with what's inside of you. If you see something on the outside world, it doesn't deal with the outside thing. It deals with your interpretation of the outside thing. So when, let's see if I can write that down. So when you see a cup, in the original form of Buddhism, I don't think I can write it down for some reason. Oh, if you see a cup in the original form of Buddhism, You see, this is the eyeball, you see the cup. Now, it doesn't deal with this cup. It deals with the cup, the form of the cup in your mind. This is your mind, this is your hair, this is your nose. It doesn't deal with the thing, it deals with your internal conceptualization of that thing. So it doesn't deal with the emptiness. It deals with skills that you can somehow live out the world, but the world inside of your mind. How you can live that out so that you can be done, so you can have something called a nirvana, which means your karma being burnt out, like a piece of firewood that's being burnt out in the morning. So it means all of the teachings are about non-duality, but at the same time, non-duality is just one aspect of existence, because duality is also real. And this is a rare reminder that, bro, when you drive a car, the car is real. If you think it's not real, take your hands off the steering wheel and see what happens. So when you drive a car, it is true that the car is not real. It's just a assembly of materials, but at the same time it is real. That's why you drive it. So both, two truths, right? Remember the Tim McGraw album, Two Lanes of Freedom? Well, he's not trying to say that Buddhist truth. He's saying two lanes of freedom. But two lanes of freedom, like in a country's highway, this is the two lanes of freedom. There's a car and you drive a car. So like you drive the car every day, so it's called two lanes of freedom. But just happens to be in Buddhism, there's also this saying called two truths. Two truths, one worldly truth and a non-worldly, a fundamental truth. The truth of the world, of independent things, and the truth of the combined total of all things, or Brahman, or emptiness. Both are real, two truths. All right. This concludes the interpretation and the commentary on the Zen poem Sandokai. I mean, as we mentioned in the early in the beginning of this long lesson, this poem was made very well known in American Buddhist society because of Shanryo Suzuki, the Soto Zen teacher in San Francisco, and he told his students, usually Zen masters teach this poem before they die. So for some reason, but this is the first interpretation of a classic in the East Asian tradition, and we're gonna talk more about other scriptures. All right. Bye.